And you go out there, and we actually told we'd have our crew leaders who did the job go do the warranty call because they already had a relationship with them. And sometimes we'd say, hey guys, find something, right? Find something.
Right.
If we painted the exterior of a house, you notice a windowsill is, little, that's probably going to peel in another year. Scrape it down, spot prime it, recoat it. Now the law of reciprocity kicks in. And what we found is about 38% of the times that we got on site to do a warranty visit, we heard the greatest thing out of the customer's mouth, which was, hey, while you're here,
let's go.
And that kicked up additional sales for us, but it also...
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
Alan, we're back. We're ready to rock this. The Small Business Safari, trying to bring you some fun. I've coined the phrase edutainment.
Is it yours and yours alone?
No, I probably not. But I still love it.
From
Why?
Smartlist.
Because, probably I stole it. Bateman, once again, steals my shit. What can I do with that, man? But I am excited about this episode. This is in my wheelhouse, as you guys know, as you've been listening. I'm in the home services space, handyman remodeling, and it's a wild world, man. You have to choose to get in it. And frankly, I think you got to be a little nuts to do it. And I left corporate America to do it. But guess what? We have another also a nut with us today, and that's Dr. Tom Reber, but he goes by Tom Reber, or Pastor Tom, however he looks. Tom, thanks for joining the show, man. Looking forward to kicking around with you.
Hey, I'm grateful to be here. It's good to hang with you. I'm already having a good time. You guys have a great energy, and I want to start this off right out of the gate. All right, Chris, I gotta know. I know I'm turning the tables on you here because it's your show.
All right, let's do it.
But I haven't met very many handymen that are making money. Like seriously, like I've interviewed them on my show before. I've interviewed some guys that have talked about how, trying to scale a handyman business is what drove them into bankruptcy. And, so it sounds like you got something cool going on there. I might have to have you on my show to talk about that. But in one word or one sentence, what's the key for a handyman to make money? And I don't mean just making a living. I mean putting some bank in their pocket and not killing themselves.
Cutting to the core.
Let's get
right
to it.
off the bat.
All right. I would say one word.
Nice job, Tom.
One word's going to be perseverance, but the sentence has got to be know your numbers, which I didn't in the beginning. I was getting my butt kicked. I know you talk about that all the time on your show. And everybody, especially in the handyman, it's a connotation of cheap, right?
Yeah.
This is, I'm not getting my house sided. I'm not getting my roof put on. I'm going to get 3 bids, but it's roofing, it's siding. It's a handyman. Hey, anybody can hang a shade. Anybody can hang a ceiling fan.
I just need a couple screens replaced. Why is it $500?
Yeah, right.
Like
and they're like, I mean, and when I first started, there was always the land of Craigslist where you go, well, this guy said he'll do it for $25 an hour. I'm like, go hire him, man.
Yeah.
So right now, here's how we do it. It's $180 for our first hour, $84 an hour after that. But to scale, and this is the hard part, it requires training, and it requires a good CRM scheduling system behind you to provide a level of service. Because even though the connotation of cheap with handyman, people will sell. I mean, I've had people just call me and bless me right the hell out for $250. They're like, I spent a lot of money with you. You're like, all right, you know what? Actually, I'm not sneezing at 250 either. If you want to give me 250, I'll take it. I mean, it's a lot of money, but you have to deal with that. And if you can't get your service down, you'll get tanked.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing that. So I like the first hour thing and then hourly after that. So,
it's got to be a trip charge. I think most people understand that, don't
no,
they?
Not in I've struggled with it.
It's funny with an electrician. With an electrician, people do it all the time. They don't shit. HVAC. I had Tommy Mello's company come and replace my garage door. The spring broke. We were pulling out of the driveway last fall, and I hit the button, and all of a sudden I just see the spring come like shooting off the garage door as we're leaving to go out to dinner. And it was some company that he owns here in Colorado Springs because he owns everything in that industry. And And they came out, they had this is what it is for the first whatever to diagnose it. And then after that, by the time they were done, they didn't replace the whole door. They just fixed it. It was like $1,600. We were done. And I was happy to pay it because I needed it done. So,
Right.
so here's, all right, last question, because this is your show. All right.
I love this.
All right.
I'm just writing down Tom turns the table.
I am
Okay,
such a control freak. My God.
I love it. Let's do it.
So scaling with your people in a handyman business, I have always imagined it would be difficult because the level of skill a handyman has to have, you got to cover a lot of ground with being really good at a lot of things, right?
Correct.
Where, versus when I had a painting company, we just painted, right? You get really good at that. But like those that are really good at all the skills in the handyman thing generally go out and start their own business. So I always looked, is that, am I barking up the wrong tree, or is that a real obstacle?
You've got a lot of your lone wolves, but they all have their certain specialty. That's the way I feel it is. And so it's really kind of up to the people that are scheduling the appointments and your project managers. I'm paying attention, aren't I?
You're doing good
to get the right person.
Alan's been listening. After 2 years, you finally figured it out. No. So
I got done looking at my phone. I decided to see what we were talking about.
The hard answer, the long answer, short answer is skill-based routing, because that you hit on exactly what people think. Well, if you're a handyman, that means you're an expert in everything. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I don't know how to fix your roof. I can't fix your gutters. And frankly, now having been in over 16,000 houses myself as an estimator, quality control, as a handyman doing some of the work, you don't know everything. I don't know where your box is. And I've seen all different kinds of handles and doors and there's just crazy stuff you see. So we call it skill-based routing. So what we do is based on the skill sets it's going to take, and we break it down even further, not just carpentry and electrical. And then we quiz them on it, then we train them on it, and then we figure out what they're best at. And so my scheduler has 18 guys to schedule, and her job is to get the right guy to the right job on the right day.
Love it. So Chris, if people want to learn more about you and your business, where do they go?
Thank you for coming on the Contractor Fight show, formerly known as the Small Business Safari.
I can't help it. Like, it's funny, even at home, like any family, any of our kids walk in the room with a problem, and I'm immediately like coach and question mode. And my wife's like, can we not do this now? Can you just like turn off at some point? I'm like, I'm sorry.
Tom, I'm actually kind of enjoying it because there aren't very many people that can get Chris to shut up.
Right?
Yeah.
This is hard.
It is.
I know.
You're showing great control.
Oh my God. This was good. All right. Tom, a little background. You're out of the Midwest, but did you immediately go into the Marine Corps out of high school?
No, I originally from Wheaton, Illinois, outside of Chicago, about an hour
my
west.
cousin played football at Wheaton.
Cool.
Yeah, Division III All-American, and then had a cup of coffee with the Bucks.
Cousin Brad.
Right.
Cousin Brad did.
That's right.
That's right.
Brad who?
Emerson.
Brad Emerson.
Would have been the 80s.
Yeah, I graduated high school at 87. So yeah, he's probably buddies with some good friends of mine that played on the Wheaton team. So I went to Wheaton North High School, but I had guy named Bill Connor and Keith Cody, some of those guys who went to Wheaton College. So
yeah.
I bet they know him.
Yeah, I bet they do.
That's cool.
Anyway,
all right.
So yeah, I grew up in Wheaton, Illinois. And what'd you ask me?
All right. Yeah. So I know Alan got him off on football because I know also
you did. I was totally. I was like.
So coming out of high school, what was the gig?
Oh, yeah.
Were you going to college? Where did you?
Well, speaking of football, yeah. So I played football. I ended up going to a Division III school called Quincy University down in Quincy, Illinois, little school. I played one season there, and as soon as the season was over, I dropped out of school because I realized I wasn't a college person. I actually couldn't stand anything about school except the fact that I got to play football. And so I went back home. I built decks, or no, I should say I dug post holes for my uncle's buddy.
So you're like everybody else in the industry.
Yeah.
I've got 40 years in the industry. How old are you? I'm 42. No, listen, man. When you're holding a flashlight for dad at 6 years old or digging a hole at 18, that ain't counting.
Yeah, I don't think I ever drove a nail once while I worked for that company. I think all I did was like, here's the address, go dig. And so did that for a few months. And I had worked for my uncle growing up. He was a painting contractor. And worked for him a lot, but his buddy gave me a job. And then, I don't know, a few months into that, I woke up one day and I said, I'm going into the Marines. And, that was it. So I did, I got out, went in and out of the Marines by 1992.
How many years?
4 years. So, infantry, Marine, Desert Storm, all that good stuff. And
You did. Well done. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your
no,
service.
I was in college hiding.
yeah, air power is pretty cool to watch up close. I'll tell you
Oh,
that.
I'll
So anyway, so I got out of the Marines, went back to work for my uncle, ran his crews for a while, ended up, I don't know, just something told me I should move on. And I was playing in a band at the same time, because all contractors are musicians, right? So,
Right. Lone wolves, artists.
yeah. And so I'm a drummer, and I was gigging probably 5-6 nights a week while I was painting for my uncle, and out till 3 a.m, lugging my drums around, and then on the job site at 7:30. And so that, long story short, I went and got a job at a carpet store as a sales guy, and I was standing in one location all day waiting for people to come in. And I knew nothing about carpet. I lasted like 4 days, and I left there. And my first, I guess, real sales job was I was selling, vinyl replacement windows for a company that, I later came to find out it was a total scam. The telemarketer sets the appointment in the low income neighborhoods where they're all payment buyers. And I was there 3.5, 4, probably 4 months. I was a top sales guy like that. And, but just the ethics of it, the integrity of it was eating away at my, who I was. That wasn't me. I didn't want to sell that way. I mean, I'm consolidating like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of medical loans into an $8,000 window payment, to get the deal, like crazy stuff like that. It was pretty bad. And there was this whole story you had to tell people, I'm not the normal sales guy. I work for my uncle, and we're just trying to keep our crews busy. And it was bad, man.
So it was a scripted lie?
Oh, it was a total scripted lie. And then there was you ever heard of the sales technique, the shill and drop?
No.
Yeah, all right. That's what we were taught. The shill and drop. So, hey, we just want to keep our guys working here. So Chris, I brought out the window display that was supposedly the high-end window, right? And say that was 15 grand, and you're like, oh, there's no way we could do that. And then I would go, well, you know what? Let me call my Uncle Alan real quick, because I think we're running a number of windows for an order that are these. And let me just see if I could just throw them on, and they can produce yours. And I could give you the $15,000 windows, right, for $7,000 or whatever it might be. And then I would literally pick up the phone, and I would call the guy who owned the company. His name was Mitch, and Mitch always answered the phone. He had all these sales guys out there. He'd answer the phone, and on the other end, and I'm like, hey, Uncle Mitch, it's Tom, and yeah, so, hey, I'm here at Chris's house, and, blah, blah, blah. Is there any way we can make this happen? And he's like, yeah, if they let us know tonight, because we're running the line tonight, blah, blah. And that was the story. Like, it was so many years ago. I don't remember all the details, but
Tom, that sounds an awful lot like when I had Chris out quoting me on my deck.
All right. So it wasn't exactly like that, but I would tell you, Uncle Mitch was definitely part of the story. I said, you know what, Alan, since I'm the owner, let me see if I can't get this expedited for you. Let me give a call to one of the PMs, make sure I can get this Trex material put on the same load. I'll get you a deal. I did.
I love it. I love
so
it. There
I'm
go.
the
It's true, though.
Am I the shill?
Well, it's
and then you did the drop.
I did. That was nice.
God.
So
Thanks,
how long
Tom.
did you last in that deal?
I was there maybe 4 months. And then, I was a top sales guy. I woke up one day and I walked in and I just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And they're like, you're the top sales guy. And I'm like, yeah, but we're lying to people. And I had actually gone to a house. I don't know how they did this, but I had gone to a house that was a next door neighbor that had bought our windows years before, and my sales appointment was next door, and they saw me walk in with a window, and they came over and they said, are you from XYZ company? And I said, yeah. And they're like, your product sucks and, all this other stuff. And we put them in a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was. We've been calling, nobody comes out and fixes anything. The seals are broke, and it was a total scam. But that was my first, I learned a lot of lessons in those few short months. Like one of the lessons I learned on accident was you need to sell like you're independently wealthy, right? I always say market like your next meal depends on it, but sell like you're independently wealthy, like you don't need it. And one morning, so again, they set these telemarketing appointments.
Great gold nugget.
And I love that one.
I go down to Joliet, Illinois, and I park my truck out in the street. I'm walking up this driveway. I'm carrying the window display, and I had been out. It was a Saturday morning. I had been out all night, and this was like a 9 a.m. appointment or something. I've been all night gigging and drinking and, just not in good shape. So I talk about hungover. I was
barf in the bushes before you ring the doorbell.
Nice.
If he wasn't standing in front of the house, I might have. So his
Banaka.
garage door's open. There's this guy. He's like 80 something years old, call him 80 years old, standing in his driveway at where the garage door meets the driveway. He's standing there. His hands are on his hips, and he's I'm walking up the driveway with my window. And he goes, I told the girl on the phone, don't send anybody out because I'm not buying anything. And by then I'm like 8 or 10 feet from the garage door. I can smell something's being cooked inside. I look down at my window and I launch it into his yard. I chuck the window into the yard, the display, and he looks at me and I go, I don't give a fuck if you buy anything, but whatever you're cooking in there smells amazing. He goes, that's my homemade turkey chili. Come on in, try it.
Oh my God.
2 hours later,
Sandwich
we're in his basement. 2 hours later, we're in his basement drinking Bacardi and Cokes, eating chili and signing a deal, So again, the story was bullshit. But what I learned, like I said, is you can't be so, that was obviously an extreme example, but you can't be so, what is it? The Tommy Boy scene where he's like, here's my sale and I'm so desperate to have it and stuff. And I think so many salespeople are, they just reek of desperation and I have to have this sale. And so I learned that lesson. Yeah. I learned that lesson on accident. I learned it on accident.
That is awesome. You know what? And that's one of those classic things where the mind was not connected. Let's face it. If you don't drink, well, shame on you because we're drinking as we do this. We're having a little bourbon while we're talking to Tom. But that's the thing. Like sometimes when your mind's disconnected, you kind of play free, right? You kind of, you're playing loose. Yep. You're playing to win, you're not playing not to lose. And when you're selling not to lose, man, woo, dog.
But this is also why I say you got to market like your next meal depends on it. Because as you guys know, the more leads I have coming in, the less give a shit factor I have on each in particular one. But I remember days building our painting company and stuff. We were doing, call it 300 jobs a year, sometimes up to 4, just depending on the year. And, but I remember those early seasons when winter would come in the Midwest and you'd stare at the phone, just hoping it would ring. And, we would call into our office line and check the voicemail to see if anyone left a message. And it's like, we'd have like one lead come in a week or something, and you're looking at that going, oh my God, this is my only hope. And that's where the desperation comes out. So that's why I talk so much about build your brand. I really think one of the solutions for every problem in business, hiring, making money, profit, whatever you want to call it, is build your brand. Like if people don't know who you are, they can't call you. If people don't know who you are, they can't work for you. So, and it's amazing how much pushback I get from contractors on that, man. Like I'm big on just do the easy stuff, like your social media profile, your personal Facebook profile, the number of guys that own a business that don't have the name of the business just in their about section. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. And they're like, well, I keep business and work or personal life separate. I'm like, you're not IBM. Okay. You're Bob's whatever service in little town, USA, and if you're not going to be your own biggest fan, why should anyone give a crap about you?
Yeah, so true. Because that's how I built. So that's how I built my business from scratch, and that was hard. I'll tell you, one of the things, I'm in an accountability group called the CEO group. We meet once a month, and one of our lines is he looks at us and says, "You guys realize that you started your own business, and I argue that your job is harder than the CEO of Coca-Cola because we're here in Atlanta." And I'm like, coming from the corporate world, he's right. Because I walked into a system and I just had to fix it. Here, I'm starting something from scratch. And back to Tom's point, when I started, I'm called the trusted toolbox. Well, I got the call saying, "Hey, I need a ladder." I'm like, "Yeah, we have ladders. What do you need me to come out and do?" He goes, "No, I just need a ladder." I'm like, "Well," he goes, "We're a hardware store, aren't you?" I'm like, "I did not get this right, but I know it will." And so you have to build your brand. I don't care what it is. You're right, because Bob's Service Company, that doesn't sell. But if you're going to be Bob's Service Company, you put it on your truck, you have a card, you put it digitally, you let people know who you are. And then guess what? When they're thinking about it for a minute, they go, "Oh, I'm going to call Bob."
Who has a ladder in their toolbox?
I don't know.
That's a dumbass. Did you say dumbass in the phone
did.
call?
Well, how about this? I got an email saying, "I definitely will not be using your service and I don't need any toolboxes." I'm like, "What?"
Oh my God. So I have, you brought up like lettering your trucks and stuff. It's, I've had contractors tell me they don't want to letter their vehicles because they don't want to get a bad review on Google.
Yeah. See, that's selling scared. That is exactly the wrong mentality. That's a scarcity mentality. Because you're right. But I'll be honest, I have walked into my grocery store and I'm looking around. I got my trusted toolbox stuff on, and I'm like, okay, do I know anybody? All right, is somebody going to come up and tell me how bad I am? But you know what? It doesn't happen. They don't do that, man. You know what they do? They come up and go, "Hey, man, your guys came out, did a great job." I'm like, "You just made my day, brother. Thank you so much." It's how it happens, right? You got to get out of that mindset.
Here's the thing. We skirted over football a few minutes ago. When you're on a football team, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but last I check, everyone has a uniform. And the team has a brand, and it has a website, and it has,
cheerleaders,
it has its own apparel, cheerleaders, if you're lucky.
We do,
right?
You need trusted toolbox cheerleaders.
Right, we're getting ready to do a home show. We need to put some trust. Actually, my buddy has told me, he said you should run the mistrusted toolbox pageant. Mistrusted. I'm like, perfect, thank you. So, but you're right. Uniforms, you hit on that, right?
I mean, if you're going to start a business, why wouldn't you wear it? Why wouldn't you drive it? Why wouldn't you? And I don't know, maybe some guys are like, "Oh, I don't want people to see me sitting at the bar," right? The era I grew up in, that's what contractors did, right? After work, they went to the bar, but I don't know. I just scratch my head because it's these same guys that hop online and are like, "Hey, is anyone else really slow this time of year? I haven't had a lead in 6 weeks and I haven't sold a job." I had one guy who's like, "I haven't sold a job in 3 months," or whatever it was, who posted in one of our groups. And I'm like, I said, "Well, dude, I went to I actually took like 10 minutes of my life. I went online everywhere to look for him and couldn't find him anywhere." I said, "Well, not even free social media stuff." I'm
wow.
Like,
yeah.
Why? And then I'm like, "Are you in, please tell me you're in something like a BNI group, right? Or some sort of net. No, what's that?" I'm like, Jesus, like, do you guys even try? Like,
no.
Like nobody, it's like it here, I have this phone and it should be easy. Everything should be easy. It should just, open a business and this thing should ring instead of me having to learn how to be resourceful.
I had a handyman come up to me and goes, "You know what, Chris, how much you spend on advertising?" I said, "Well, I spend 3 to 4% of my thing. And it's actually really low." He goes, "I've been in business for 10 years and I've never had to advertise because I get word to mouth." And, sure enough, about a year and a half ago, he called me, even though we're in the heater of COVID. He goes, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" I said, "No, we're cranking, bro. It's cool." He goes, "You haven't seen it slow down?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah. Well,
how's that word of mouth going now?
And listen, I come out pretty hard on that from time to time. Like, I give the word of mouth only guys a bad rap, I think, sometimes. And I want to set it straight here, man. All right. Because I've said, if you're just relying on word of mouth, I say you're stupid. Okay. I've usually said that. If your goal is to scale and grow a business, you know what I'm saying? So where I failed to communicate in the past is the context of that comment is, listen, if you want to wake up, put the tools on, and you enjoy that, and you want to only make 100 grand, 125 grand a year in your pocket, 150 some years, whatever it might be, and just hover above what I consider poverty, but you enjoy it, right? Because I get that. It's success. Maybe you have a spouse that makes a lot of money, and you don't have to make as much of the business and you just want to kind of be left alone. And that's success to you. I'm all for that. But where I get bent out of shape is the guys that sit there and they go, I go, what's your vision for your business? And they've been in business 3 years, they're doing 400 grand a year. And they go, I want to build a $4 million business or a $10 million business. And then you start having a marketing conversation. They're like, well, we just do word of mouth. I'm like, dude, it ain't going to happen. You're going to have to become fanatical about building what we say, getting more eyeballs. You got to get eyeballs.
Got to get eyeballs.
And so of course, I mean, listen, your business, it would be amazing if, I don't know, the 8,000 leads that come into the contractor fight a year or whatever the heck it is, were all word of mouth. Right. That would be great.
I would love to spend $0 too and get 8,000.
I'm with you on there. And I think the longer you're in business, that percentage should go up. Like earlier, I said, if we did 300 paint jobs a year, 250 of them were past clients, influencer relationships, and referrals. Okay. The other 50, we were spending, I don't know, 100 grand a year to get or whatever it was.
I just got done doing my 2023 analysis. The cool thing about my business being a handyman and remodeler is that we do a lot of things around the house. So I can get a lot of repeat business.
Yeah.
So I get 40% repeat business. I get another 20% from referrals from satisfied customers and networking. I get another 20 from other contractors. So add up that's 40 plus 20. That's 80 for those of us doing math. Thank you. For those of us driving on your car, don't drive off the road yet. So I spent last year $300,000 for 20% of my business. Think about that for a minute. You're like, what are you doing? Dude, you could have put that in your pocket. Well, not if you're trying to grow, bro. All right. I mean, but that's what it came down to, because those repeat clients were from past marketing efforts, branding, doing this over 16 years. It's that build. And, of course, right now, this is one of the things I'm really hot on. Is people like, well, I bootstrapped it and I'm $1 million a year guy after 1 year. I'm like, that's awesome. Good for you. But here I am, an overnight success. It just took me 15 years.
Yeah.
So I had to build it slow.
Well, yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point, though. I mean, you're not marketing for their business today. You're marketing for the business for the rest of their life and all their referrals.
Right. Because I do a ton of back marketing.
Because, if you just look at it, that 20%, it seems like it's a waste of money. But, you multiply it out over the next 10 years, it's a huge amount of money.
Correct. Yep. 100%.
Chris, I'm going to venture to say that in all of your marketing strategery, I've been waiting to use that word and pronounce it that way.
I love it. You know what? That's going to be in the Webster soon. I know it is, because I've used it too.
My guess is somewhere in your strategic planning of your marketing and growing your business, you've probably had a conversation of this thing called lifetime value.
There we go.
Right?
Whoa, that's a big word, people.
Just drop the mic right there. Like, and that's, again, and I used to be this way till I got edumacated. And
another word that's going to go in pretty soon.
It's actually edumacated.
It is. I think it's edumacated. Yeah, I think strategery and edumacated should be in Webster's. I'm going to volley because I've used both of those all the time.
But it's easy to only think transactional, right? When your phone's not ringing a lot, sales are low, you're struggling. I get that. We've all been there. You're just going, I just need to cash a check and eat and do the work, right? So I'm totally for that. But I think so many contractors, so many business owners in general do themselves a disservice by not really thinking of the long-term value of a client. And like you with handyman stuff, slam dunk. You could be in the house for a gazillion different things.
Right.
Even as a painting contractor, we could come in and start with a powder room that we sell for $500, send a guy for half a day and he paints it. And I've had this dozens of times, over the next 3 to 5 years, it turns into $20,000, $30,000, $60,000 of work, whether it's in that house or they sell that house and buy the next house or whatever. There's gold in your database. So I think, a lot of these guys that do bigger additions, kitchen remodels are like, well, people only do a kitchen once every 20 years or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but dude, what would happen? I mean, I don't know about you, but like every time I turn around, there's something in our house that needs to be done. Right. And even if my kitchen remodeler were to just check in, just pick up the phone 2-3 times a year, send a text and go, Tom, how's the kitchen looking? Hey, it's looking great, but this crazy thing happened because it's just happened. We got some boards on the floor. They didn't do the floor. We got some boards on the floor that are kind of separating and stuff with the weather. You want to come look at it? I mean, that would be the conversation. Like,
right. That's it.
And you like sub it out. They could
put me in the door.
I don't care what
bro.
they do.
Get me in the door.
Yeah,
so I think a lot of people are reluctant to do that because they're afraid when you say, hey, how's the kitchen looking? Oh, the doors are falling off.
Guilty.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that because as we do it, they're like, because I've had another guy recommend that at the year mark, you should call him and say, hey, just wanted to check on the bathroom that we did. Do you want me to come back and touch it up? And I'm like, oh, I can't do that because they're going to hit me with it. He goes, Chris, every time I've done it, not only did I touch up something for a half a day, and then I sold them on another master bath, or I sold them on the kitchen. You're like, he's right. So that's why you got to send. I mean, I've talked about this before. I send once a month, everybody gets a newsletter, and then now I'm going to go back to mailing because we were on such a heater after COVID. I slowed back on the mail, but I'm going to go back to it now because we're slowing down. So you see it, you're trying to lean into it and do some other things. And, hopefully it'll work, back to my strategery. I don't know.
So there's two things. I think that if a contractor is listening to this, if they implemented these two things, it's going to move the needle. All right. And most don't do this. We spend so much time fighting to get new customers, new leads, right? And we often neglect the people right under our nose that are in our database. Mrs. Jones, who didn't hire you 3 years ago, is still in your database. Why is she not hearing from you? Right. So, because you never know, maybe they hired a different company and it was a total shit show, and then you're still on the radar. So, however, two things. This first thing, I got a GC in Milwaukee who, and he's just one example, but this is pretty cool. This brought in an additional $1 million for him in top line revenue.
Write this down, Chris.
In 2023.
I'm
okay.
Boys, look at this.
So it's called a UIT, not a UTI, a UIT. Okay.
Okay. I know those UTIs, by the way.
And I ripped the name off from my coach. So I was doing them before I knew what he called them, because we were doing these for years. And then I adopted that name, but now I got to come up with my own name. So maybe we'll call them the Uncommon Touch or something. I don't know. $1 million. Here's how it works. It is personalized. It is not like a bulk text or, email, right? It's a text. And when I speak to groups, dude, I have, or do workshops or whatever, I have the people in the room do this. I was just in Florida a couple months ago doing this, and this kid, I shared this thing, and I go, everyone pull your phone out right now and send one. And within 20 minutes, the kid sold a $15,000 project. All right,
Nice.
while he's sitting there in the audience. Okay.
Validate.
All right, I'm ready.
So real simple. Chris,
IT. Yes.
Chris, it's Tom. We did your thing last summer, whatever. I don't care what you're thinking. We installed this, we did that, fixed your garage door. Just thinking about you. How's it looking? That's it. The goal is not to sell something, by the way. The goal is to stay on the radar, to show that you care, and to eventually turn this into a sales conversation for when it works for people, because people buy when they're ready, not when we're ready. My painter here, I'm a painter, but I don't paint my own house. It's too hard. So I have this painter that I love. If they would send one of these to my wife right now, they would have $20,000 to $30,000 of work this week.
By the way,
what's UIT stand for, though? I'm going
to. Unexpected intentional touch. So it's unexpected, it's intentional, and obviously it's a touch. And so this GC I was telling you about, unexpected intentional
This is why
touch. This is why we got to come up with a new name.
We need a new name because I'm thinking UTI the whole time. That's why I was struggling with that. But I don't care if you're a contractor or not. That is just business right there, man. Right there. Listen to that.
Yeah, I don't care what. I mean, you sell cars, you sell websites. It doesn't matter, right? So anyway, you send these, and what we've done these for many years. We coached on these for many years. It's just a quick reach out. It's just going, hey man, I was just thinking about. I was driving through your neighborhood. Hey Julie, I was driving through your neighborhood, and I was thinking about the deck last year we refinished, and I know what a pain it was. Meaning the history of the deck and all the other people that screwed it up before us, right? And it's been 6 months. How's it looking? Right? Hey, it's looking great. And by the way, I meant to reach out to you. We have people, this literally happened to me many years ago. I sent one of these in the month of August, never heard from her. Her name was actually Stacy, and it was a deck. Week and a half before Thanksgiving, she calls my cell phone. She goes, I am so sorry I never replied to your text. She says, and you're going to hate me. I have people coming next week and I need the whole house painted and I need wallpaper removed. And so the week before Thanksgiving, she hands me a $30,000 job because I sent a text. Okay, guys, this is the power of this, because here's why nobody does it, you guys. Nobody does it.
I call it the hey buddy.
Hey, buddy. Oh, that's
that's a
better.
good name.
You know what, Alan?
Trademark that.
Hey, buddy.
The hey buddy.
Hey, you know what? Contractor fight. You can use that one. There you go.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So
steal with pride.
So I was sharing about Bob, the GC, who sold $1 million at our event this past September. I'm on the stage. I have Bob's picture on the slide telling about this story. And I'm like, Bob, I hope you're okay if I share this. And he just laughed and whatever. And the whole crowd's there. And I share about this. I get off the stage. I walk off the stage. I walk by Bob. I walk up, give him a high five and give him a little hug. And I'm like, hey, thanks for letting me share your story. He goes, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? He says, while you were telling the story, I sent a UIT and I just set my sales guy up and he's going out to talk to somebody about another $130,000 garage.
Dear God, look at that.
Because it just, and so we put a little science behind this. We've tested this for years. If you do this 3 times a day, okay. And what do we got? About 264, call it 270 sales days a year times 3, call it 800 times a year. Guys, you're not going to go 0 for 800.
No.
Right.
Right.
And it takes, I mean, I'm talking, you're sitting on the throne in the morning. You can send a few of these, right?
Yeah, we call them 8 before 8 and 5 after 5. You know, it's 8 before 8. Like you said, sitting on everybody can send a text, right? I mean, it's pretty easy, especially in today's world.
We call them dump texts.
Well, we call them 8 before 8 and 5 after 5. Thanks. Dump text.
Ellen, you are on fire today, Ellen.
I'm just trying to consolidate things.
So he had a great colonoscopy. He's all hide up, baby.
Ooh, a great colonoscopy.
What we found,
because we still haven't got to number 2 yet, Ellen.
I know. What we found is that about 5% of those convert into sales over the course of a year.
5%.
Huge number.
That's 40 projects, guys.
Think about that. If you got sales guys who come in and go, hey, I need
Yeah.
more leads. You know what? How about you go take these 20 and just hit them with a text?
So one of the guys I coach, he month and a half ago, I'm like, dude, you got to get your people doing this. He's got his admin assistants doing it. He's got a couple different locations. So all the salespeople, all the admin people, and himself are all sending 3 a day as a company because they got like a database of like 12,000 or whatever it is. And he's
16,
like a week, I think he's got, what the heck is it? He's got 8 people times 3 is 24 times 22 working days. He's sending at least 500 of these a month, every month. And within like 2 or 3 weeks, they sold, I don't know, 80, $100,000 collectively, just money that's just sitting there. Right. So the guys that are listening to this right now, driving on the road and your like phone hasn't rang, you got to be proactive, go on the hunt, go on the attack.
You got to be on the attack right now.
And so, and again, it's not a like, hey, you want to buy my shit? It's, Alan, thanks so much for having us out to paint your first floor last year. I was just wondering how it's looking. You just care. And it's truly a genuine caring. So, 5%. So whatever your average job size is, I mean, if you're $7,500 and you got 40, that's 300 grand right there that you just manufactured out of nothing. Okay.
Dude,
second
people
thing.
say, hey, do you make any money off this podcast? I'm like, no, actually not sponsored, not at all.
Tom, it's a good thing it's a good thing you have a second thing because Chris is about to end the podcast and start texting people.
All right. I know. Actually, I was going to grab my phone because I put it on do not disturb because all due respect, I want to show that I'm totally in and I'm totally flipping in right now. All right. Number 2.
So I know a lot of this is going to be on Monday.
Oh, it's about freaking text, boys.
A lot of this is, both these strategies or tactics they're just about being uncommon. And I think they're rooted in just being a good human being, right? Most companies, I don't care what they are, run from warranty work. Okay. Right. None of us want, like you said earlier, like you don't want to pick the phone up and ask them because you don't want to hear bad news. Right. So a number of years ago with our painting business, I started doing what I call a warranty call. I'm like, it's similar to a UIT, but it's got more intention behind it. It's literally a warranty call. And I'd call you up and at the time, I think we were doing like a 1-year labor warranty or whatever it was, right? 1-2 year, doesn't matter. You call probably, I don't know, 3 months before the warranty's up and you go, hey, Ellen, it's Tom with Tom's Painting. We did your thing last year. Hey, man, what's going on? Oh, just checking in. Hey, I wanted to let you know that your labor warranty's up in a couple months. And I wanted to get your warranty visit set up. And they're going to be like, what's that? And you're like, well, we come out, we put eyeballs on stuff to make sure everything's looking the way it should. And there's no issues. And if there are, they're our problem and not yours. And you go out there, and we actually told we'd have our crew leaders who did the job go do the warranty call because they already had a relationship with them. And sometimes we'd say, hey guys, find something, right? Find something.
Right.
If we painted the exterior of a house, you notice a windowsill is, little, that's probably going to peel in another year. Scrape it down, spot prime it, recoat it. Now the law of reciprocity kicks in. And what we found is about 38% of the times that we got on site to do a warranty visit, we heard the greatest thing out of the customer's mouth, which was, hey, while you're here,
let's go.
And that kicked up additional sales for us. But it also, again, playing the long game, the lifetime value, not just wham, bam, thank you, and we're out of here. You are providing an uncommon service that really makes them feel like they're important. They're not just thrown to the side. I mean, I can't tell you, you guys have probably had this, where they, the story will be better than me making the point. I go to this house, lady wants me to paint it. I said to her, hey, the paint job looks pretty good. Like, who did it last time? And she said, so-and-so. And he was a buddy of mine. And he had a gargantuan company, man. Good dude, liked him, and I said, well, why didn't you have him back? And she said, well, remember when they used to build like a little desk in the kitchen? To the side, little desk, and underneath,
right next to the fridge.
Yeah. And then underneath there's always
nobody
that
ever freaking uses. By the way, we have it.
Yeah. That little strip, there was like a little strip of drywall that was tucked way up in there. You can't see it. She was cleaning the floor under there one day and she looked up and they didn't paint that thing. Literally. And she says, well, they missed that. And it just bothered me. And I said, did you call them? And she said, no, I just felt it was stupid to call. I said, so it bothers you, but you won't call. I said, I know so-and-so. He would come out here personally. I mean, he had like 100 painters and shit, right? He'd come out here personally and do it for you if you pick the phone up. So her reluctance to call kind of gave me this idea that we got to be on the hunt for this stuff and we got to be proactive, because I guarantee you, had he called her and said, hey, Mary, how's it looking? She'd go, you know what, Tom, this is the stupidest thing ever. It's really not. Yeah, Chris, you're doing it, right? This is really not a big deal. I feel so stupid even saying this, but blah, blah, blah. But
I hate to bring this up to you because you're the owner and I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I don't want to get fired.
That was a $10,000, $12,000 job that I got that he didn't get, because obviously it's a stupid thing, but it meant something to her. It meant enough to her. Right. So that was kind of the origin of this thing. And so we found that, because what's the stat? Like 85%, if somebody's given you money once before, they're like 85% more likely to do it again.
Yeah, I've heard
if
that.
they had a good experience, right?
Yeah. Close enough. It's definitely more than 50%, boys.
Yeah, we spend all this time trying to get new customers, which we should, but we don't love up on the ones that have already trusted us.
Mm-hmm.
I had one contractor tell me you got to lean in. Yeah, you got to kiss the girl that's leaning into you. I was like, that's a good one. But back to repeat business. Especially, I've had people say that. I've had painters say this to me. He goes, man, at least in your business, you get repeat business. I'm like, you can get repeat business too, man. I said, you just got to stay there, right? I said, you're right. My business, I wish all I did was plumbing. I wish all I did was painting. I wish all I did was electrician work. But we do a lot. But even if you do, you're still, and I don't care if you're not in the trades and you're listening to this, if you're in your business, if you're not touching your existing customer base and giving them ideas, not selling your shit, talking about new stuff. Like I just put my newsletter out. I started talking about aging in place ideas because we just got introduced to a lot of new ideas that I implemented actually in my own house because I'm aging in place at 53. I'm aging a lot faster than most, but no, I mean, but you're trying some of these techniques out and you're like, man, this is really cool stuff that everybody should have. So educate your customers, because we all want to sell to an educated customer, right?
Yeah. Yep. Well, and you know, education comes, I mean, you know, I started this whole content thing before I got out of the painting industry, and I sold my half of the business in 2012 to my partner. Whole long story behind that, but we had, for a couple of years, we started, at the time, blogs were really big. And so we just kept writing blog after blog that was educational, you know, because people go on to Google. I mean, anyone listening to this right now, go in, if you're a kitchen remodeler, you know, or say you paint kitchen cabinets, go into Google and go kitchen cabinet painting. And I guarantee you, probably one of the next words it's going to auto populate is prices, because people are searching for that. Or which paint is better, Benjamin Moore or Sherwin-Williams? Should I use flat or eggshell? How do I touch up a wall? Whatever your industry is, all those questions you get. So dude, we went on this, I went on the warpath of writing blog posts that just educated. I was like, interior painting prices, how much to paint a kitchen? Interior painting prices, how much to paint a master bathroom? And it got to the point, and we had pricing all over our website. I shared with people our production rates and how we measured rooms and all this other stuff of how we figured up pricing. It got to the point where I would knock on a door. I had my little iPad with our program in it, and I'd walk around and I'd hit dimensions and I'd hit buttons and I'd hold up the price. And I go, it's $5,600. And one time I did this, his husband and wife were there. They're on the other side of this kitchen island, and I hit the button and I hold it up. And I go, $5,600. She looks at her husband and she flips him the bird. She goes, suck it, I win. They had a bet of how much it was going to be. And she was within like $100-200. And I said, how did you figure it out? She says, it's all on your website.
Oh,
so she did her own freaking estimate and then called us.
So she's already price conditioning when you walked in there.
Yeah.
She was educated. She'd already researched your company. She realized you put yourself out there. She saw your Google reviews, saw they were good. So you walked in. It's a sale. That's an educated customer. You're ready to rock and roll. Tom, I could talk to you all day. However, we got to let you get back to making money, doing your thing. And we got to get everybody back. But we can't let you go without asking a few things.
What do you got?
Number one, how does everybody find you?
Contractorfight.com.
Do it. Contractor Fight. You see him on YouTube. You'll see him on the web. Contractorfight.com. Check it out. I guarantee you're going to find something in there that will blow your socks off, because I love watching that stuff. I sample it all the time. So
I appreciate it.
Let's get into the next stuff. All right. You ready? What's a favorite book you would recommend to everybody?
Oh my God. So many.
Yeah. You got to pick one.
I got to pick one.
Come on, sales guy.
Well, okay. Be your own biggest fan. There's a book called Sell Unafraid that comes out in April of this year that I wrote.
Sell Unafraid. Go out and check it out. Let's go.
And it's unleash your sales success through personal discipline. So there you go. That's the subtitle. So
ooh, nice. Sell Unafraid. All right, you can give us another one of another.
All right,
something else, but we'll push that book.
You know, one of my favorite all-time books is How Rich People Think. I don't know if you ever heard of this little green book, but I think I grew up highly conditioned to be a broke dude, you know, just by my life and environment and this and that, you know, and negative self-talk. And I just think I read that a number of years ago. And I to this day, I go back and maybe once a year, I'll revisit, you know, half of the book or maybe read the whole thing. It's a real quick little read.
It's a quick read. Yeah. But it's been a little bit since I've read it, clearly, because I'm not rich yet. And that's why I'm still doing these. No, I'm kidding. Guys, go read that one, How Rich People Think. All right, let's keep rocking. Let's go figure out some other stuff. What's the favorite feature of your house?
Our water feature.
What do you got?
We have two of them. We have like these big spheres in the front of the house, 3 spheres that bubble water out.
Oh, wow.
In the front. And then in the back, we had, so we live in a suburb here, or a subdivision in Colorado Springs, while we're looking for land to build on right now. And so it's actually a small space, but our landscaper, his name is Matt Heiner. If you guys follow him on Instagram, the Yardist, he's a master at social media and does millions a year from social. That's why I'm sharing that as a value for your people.
Done, the artist.
So they built just a small water feature, but it's a 1,500-pound metal basin that they had to crane in over the house to get into the backyard. And our dogs love playing in it and stuff like that. The next
Dude,
house
I would have
we're gonna
loved
have a
seeing
big-
that, putting that in there.
Well, there's a YouTube video. There's a YouTube
Oh, I'm
video
gonna
where
watch that.
they
That's
have it
awesome.
on Heiner Outdoor Living's YouTube channel. So yeah,
Nice. All
that
right.
was a few years ago. Yep.
So one of the big things we're talking about in the Small Business Safari is that customer service is king, and Alan and I are customer service
Freaks.
Let's go. When you're out there and you're a customer, what is a service pet peeve of yours?
When I'm a customer,
Yeah.
in any environment, just as a customer anywhere, like
Anywhere. You're out there at the restaurant. We talk about restaurants quite a bit, or whatever.
Okay.
What's it like? Especially because the contractors, we got to step our games up, people. Man, you know what? We used to get passes all the time. The passes are going away. We got to get better.
Yeah, I think I just really want to know that you give a shit.
Right.
Whether it's a host, whether it's the hostess at the restaurant, whether it's the server you have, whether it's the contractor you're working with, like, what's the old saying, picture everybody's got a sign around them that says, make me feel important. I think that's what we all want. We just want to feel like I like you guys, I like to spend money, right? So I'm going places to spend money. The least you could do is act like you're happy to see me.
Amen to that.
Right.
And I think a lot of companies don't do that. And I think they're missing out in all industries. I think they got to level up the train. That's part of the reason, honestly, that I wrote Sell Unafraid, because I talk about that in the book. I talk about act like you give a shit. I mean, listen, we had my wife and I got married in 2020. We've been together a number of years, got married in 2020. We were going to get married at this perfect place here in Colorado Springs with the best views of the Garden of the Gods and all this other stuff. It was a slam dunk. Like, we were going there. We set the appointment. We walked in. And I tell the story in the book. The sales girl greets us, sits us down at her desk, slides pricing pages in front of us, and says, "Which package do you want to do?"
Oh.
And my wife and I looked at each other, and I go on to share the story and we settled for a subpar venue down the road because I wasn't going to spend my money with somebody that didn't bother to ask us one question.
Right.
Yep.
If we call my wife the queen, if she would have just said to the queen, "Lee, tell me about your perfect wedding day," Lee would have talked for an hour nonstop, walked around the property with her and said, "We want to do this and do this and do this and do this." And then sales girl, all she had to do was say, "Okay, well, to make all that happen, it's going to be X."
Which is probably the premier package, probably the top of the line, probably right there. And you would have
He would have looked at me and said nothing. And I would have looked back at her and I would have said, "Okay,
done."
Like, done. But she just acted like there was an arrogance. It was almost like it was a hassle for us to meet with us. You've been there. You walked into restaurants.
And I don't blame her though. I blame the management.
I blame
her.
management.
And if I'm the owner of that company, I am pissed because that's what I just trained her to do. That just ticks me off. And that is why we are customer service.
Freaks.
Let's get it done. All right. Last one. Give us a DIY nightmare story. We're talking death, dismemberment, fire, flood,
emergency
famine.
services.
Emergency services is always good. Yeah, that was a good one.
Of my own.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It wasn't life threatening, but I'm a painter. I'm not a trim carpenter. And about 20 years ago, longer than that now. Anyway, first house I ever bought, I was going to do my own trim. And so I trimmed out all the doors, the door frames, the windows, everything, put new trim, was all excited about it. And I don't think I've ever told anyone this.
Come on. I love this story. It's get vulnerable, Tom.
And I'm standing back and I pop a beer, and my buddy came over and he walks in and we're leaning on against the wall, drinking a beer, having a conversation. And after about 10 minutes, he goes, "You put all the trim on backwards."
Hello, good night.
I mean, all my joints were tight, but I just had the trim turned the wrong way, man.
Oh my God.
I don't know what I was thinking. I obviously wasn't, and we just lived with it. I'm like, screw it, we're keeping it.
I did the same thing. I hung a closet door upside down. I was all
God.
proud of myself until a came over for a cup of coffee. He's like, that door's upside down.
All right, I didn't have the heart to tell one of my friends who was very proud that he did that same thing, and he put the brick mold around his outside. He said, "I installed my door." Of course, you could barely freaking open the thing, and it was all out of plumb. And I didn't have the heart to tell him. But he installed the brick mold backwards or inside out, like you guys just said. And I was like, yeah. He goes, "What do you think?" I said, "Man, you know what? I'm hiring, man. If you ever decide to quit your IT job, I think you can do this." But you're right, because you're a contractor. You're sitting there, like, "Hey, check out what I just did." He's like, "Hey, dumbass, you just put it all in backwards."
Well,
hey,
what made it worse? What made it worse? It was like I think my second year in business. We were a super young company, and I remember getting it done and going, "This wasn't that hard." And then I'm like, "We should add a handyman division where we do trim."
Let's go. Dr. Tom Reber, Pastor Tom Reber, the contractor fight brought the heat, made you happen. Listen, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you didn't, that's on you. If you didn't learn something, that's definitely on you. You're driving around, go back, rewind this thing. You pick up some gold nuggets, get up that mountaintop. Let's hit that success button. Make it happen. We're out of here.
You're the man, Tom.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.